My name is Selena Thompson, and I am a third year student at Michigan State University. And today I will be interviewing you about your project in Wayne State. And the first question that I have for you today is for you to introduce yourself. Can you please introduce yourself and provide some background information on who you are and how you came to be interested in your area of expertise?
Yeah, thanks, Selena. My name is Matthew Rolling, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Business Innovation at Wayne State. I grew up in Wisconsin, go Badgers, and I've worked in the private sector for a long time, and I have a CPA license. And about a year and a half or so ago, we started to work on the idea of the Financial Capability Center at Wayne State. My personal interest in personal finance is it's very personal to me. When I was 18, I went to community college for a couple of years, and my mom was an entrepreneur. She had a daycare, she had a childcare center in her home. That's how she paid the bills. And she was not. We all kind of make mistakes, and she had, due to a divorce and a lot of other issues, she hadn't paid her taxes for a couple of years. And so she ran the daycare, childcare center out of the home, but she didn't really, she didn't have the resources or the help to get the taxes done. And when it was time for me to transfer to University of Wisconsin, I was filling out my FAFSA form, my financial aid form, and there's an area where you need your, if you're a dependent, you need your parents' taxes, and my mom's taxes weren't done. And, she was really upset. And, I said, well, hey, look, I basically was like, how hard can it be, right? So we sat down and we put together her tax returns for the last couple of years together to make sure I could borrow money I needed to go to get my bachelor's degree. That moment in my life really taught me that, when it comes to money, what you don't know can hurt you.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is very impactful to me because coming from like a low income family like myself, sometimes we didn't have like the resources to really provide us with financial avenues that will help us. So thank you for sharing that. Um, our next question is for you to provide a brief overview of your project and the main issues that it seeks to resolve.
Yeah, so we received money from Michigan State and from PNC Bank and also from Lake Trust Credit Union. And that money will be used for a one-year pilot. And during the pilot, we've selected 10 students at Wayne State. And we brought in a woman, Julie Hollinshead, who's just excellent, very, very, very financially savvy. And we've also brought in some help from Wayne State School of Social Work. So we can really take these 10 students and identify one very specific financial goal for each of them. It might be reducing debt or improving their credit score or, paying their bills on time, something like that. And helping them with a kind of a consolidated approach, a holistic approach to giving them the support they need to achieve that goal, that very specific goal for them. And throughout the course of this pilot, our hope is that we can come up with a systematic approach to helping students over time get the financial support and tools they need so that they are more likely to matriculate and earn their degree, so that they're more likely to enter the workforce with a solid understanding of money, so that they can be high functioning adults that pay their bills and build wealth and don't fall prey to toxic financial products. And maybe most importantly, a lot of Wayne State students are identify as coming from underrepresented backgrounds, or they come from low to moderate income households. And so we really hope that in some small way we can start to tackle some of the systemic wealth issues that plague the US.
Wow, that's a perfect tie into my next question. Speaking specifically on certain communities and how they're impacted, the racial wealth gap can be seen in poverty statistics as Black people are disproportionately affected by poverty. So, why is it important to have a financial center that works to address this limited access of resources regarding understanding finances?
Yeah, it's really a problem, and there are a lot of issues with systemic racism in the United States, and the wealth gap is affects African American families, Native American families, Latinx families, and it's really severe. And I wish it was something that people focused on more, because the difference in median household income between a white family and a Black family in the U.S. is, depending upon which study you look at, it's usually around 10x. And so when you look back in the 1950s, in the kind of the second half of the 20th century, as women were starting to really come into the workforce in large numbers and fight for equality, you saw the wage gap between men and women compress all the way from about 50 cents on the dollar to, I think nowadays it's probably around 80 cents on the dollar for equivalent work. Obviously, there's a lot of work that remains to be done. And there's a lot of things we can talk about when it comes to wealth inequality and income inequality for women. But we did make massive strides in closing that gap, right? Meanwhile, while a lot of people might look at things going on in the US and point at certain things and say, well, this happened or that happened, and therefore, we live in a post-racial world, or, we live, or, this happened a long time ago, so what's the big deal? But the data tell us that that 10x difference in wealth, in net worth, which is inarguably more important than income, right? Because what's the point of income if you don't create wealth? That 10x difference has persisted over the last 40 or 50 years without moving. If anything, the impact of the pandemic has probably made it worse. As you've seen wealth inequality, the gap has just yawned and spread further in the last 12 months. So I'm not gonna, our work isn't gonna magically convince politicians that we need to do a better job of taking care of our neighbors and addressing that gap. But if we can arm students and people of color with the knowledge, at least they're not fighting this battle empty-handed.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Matthew. That'll lead me to my final question. How do you see your project impacting the community of Wayne State and Detroit in the future?
Yeah, that's really an important question. I hope that the result of this pilot is that we can identify we can find internal to the university and external stakeholders like Michigan State, PNC Bank, Lake Trust Credit Union, and that they'll continue to invest in our program so that we can scale it beyond these 10 initial students, and build a sustaining office where students and maybe even eventually the community can come in. And again, it's not just the tactics of this is how you make a budget and this is how credit cards work, but you also have that tie-in with the School of Social Work, where it's, okay, this is how you pay your bills. What's going on at home? Why do you feel like you're worried about? Why do you have financial insecurity, and what can we do to help you with that, right? So, we really hope to create a safe harbor first for our students, as well as some programs for students that really would like to participate in something that is more structured, right? It's more structured. So we'd like to see we'd like to show success from this pilot that gets our stakeholders, internal and external, to invest in a sustaining office that achieves those goals. And then hopefully eventually we'd like to see the student senate, maybe there's an opportunity for the students through a shared service fee to support the office, in perpetuity, if the students see value from it. What that means for the community is more people graduating college, instead of just dropping out or because of financial reasons. So we'll have more people who are more likely to come from low to moderate income households graduating. In a perfect world, we'd see credit scores across southeastern Michigan start to rise because 80% of Wayne State graduates stay in Metro Detroit. And if we are able to bring the community in as well, we'll have a physical space where people from all walks of life can walk in judgment-free zone to get support with their financial concerns.
Wow, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much today for providing us with this insightful information about your project and why it's important to not only the students in the community of Wayne State, but Detroit and all of the people who support you. And I really hope that this project takes off and that it's able to grow and that it really leaves a strong impact on the community because Lord knows we need it. Thank you
You're,
so much, Matthew.
my pleasure. Thanks, Selena.